Hello everybody, Vincent here and welcome to this week's protection update. So did you manage to get along to the NTE yesterday? It was virtual, so you wouldn't have had to drive anywhere, but I thought it was really good and it was great to hear so many opinions about that overall objective of maximizing sales opportunities as we start to look forward to next year, 2022. I was making my notes all the way through the sessions and I just felt that I'm probably going to need to watch some of that again just to make sure that I didn't miss anything. There were so many good ideas about how we can genuinely look at making next year the best year yet across all the different propositions that you happen to operate in. And I'd like to say congratulations to all the winners of the various awards that were handed out this year. Let me just pick out a few of the protection specific awards. Overall protection firm, Parkway Financial Solutions. Really well done there, Kevin. You've had a phenomenal year for protection. You're an inspiration because you've protected hundreds of clients. Really well done. Outstanding newcomer, the protection parent. Carla, you're going to have to build a bigger trophy cabinet there. Well done. JBM Mortgage Brokers and Regal also picked up an award and highly commended too. So well done again for all of your efforts. And on the NTE, did you see my protection panel discussion? It was towards the beginning of our NTE, but I thought there were some really good business development ideas from Aviva, Vitality, Aegon, and Royal London. They all did talk quite a lot of common sense. And our guest speaker on the panel was the award-winning Ashley James from Waystone. So thank you, Ash, for taking some time out and joining in with the discussion. As I say, take a look at the replay when we post it on the advisor site. There were some nuggets of gold in that discussion with regards to protection. Now, this week should see the release of the 2021 AMI report, and I will share the findings of that with you once I receive my copy. The AMI is the Association of Mortgage Intermediaries. Now, if you've joined us at any of our recent regional roadshows, you might remember a bit from my short presentation. I actually had to cut quite a bit of it out because we did squeeze a lot of content onto those roadshows. But the thing that I did keep in my presentation was a couple of stats from the AMI report that came out almost exactly 12 months ago. And in the report, there was a lot of commentary about the state of the mortgage market, predictions about what we could expect over the next year and beyond. But the thing that stuck out to me was this piece of market research which they carried out with a group of advisors and a group of clients. And just to be clear, there were 499 mortgage advisors surveyed, of which all of them were active in the market and all of them had a license to advise and recommend on protection insurance. When it comes to the clients, these had all recently taken out a mortgage and that was arranged and advised by a mortgage advisor. And in that part of the survey, there was 5,001 clients. Now, there were two questions in the survey, which, as I say, they stuck out to me and I thought they were very telling. The first was aimed at mortgage advisors and it asked the question, do you mention protection when advising and arranging mortgages for your clients? Around the road shows around the different regions in the last couple of weeks, I think the general consensus of opinion between our advisors was that it should be a high percentage to that question. And in fact, it was 97% of mortgage advisors who were surveyed that said they do mention protection to their clients. Now, personally, I'm not completely happy with the framing of that question. I mean, what does the word mention actually mean? Is it any real kind of test as to the quality of the conversation about protection? And if you flip it on its head, 3% of mortgage advisors actually admitted on a survey that they don't even mention protection to their clients. Can you believe they admitted to that? But if we move on to the second question in that survey, and of course this was aimed at customers, people who had recently taken out a mortgage arranged by a mortgage advisor, the question was, do you remember your mortgage advisor mentioning protection to you? Now, can you remember the response if you happen to be with me on the roadshows? Remember, it was 5,001 customers that were asked the question. 36% of them said they did remember their advisor mentioning protection to them. That means, if you flip that on its head, that 64% of customers could not remember their advisor mentioning protection to them. That's clearly shocking. And if I go back to the key word in those questions in the survey, mention. What I'd be looking for is a meaningful conversation about the risks associated with taking out a mortgage, a conversation where the client can make an informed decision about what they need to do. But the fact that that statistic is so lousy does represent an opportunity for you. If other advisors aren't talking about protection, you'll be able to demonstrate why you're better. I remember interviewing Andrew Biggs from Elmo House. Hello, Andrew. And I asked him a few months ago, what are your top tips that help you better engage with your clients about protection? Now, I've got this recorded, and Andrew actually said to me, Vince, it's important to take the time and have the patience. Clients don't do this every day. So talk through exactly what we're offering. But then Andrew said, very often when I speak to my clients and I'm successful, it's because someone else who came before me hasn't taken the time to explain things properly. Now, that interview and a few others as well is something that we play to advisors who join the network during a sales workshop that we run called Putting Protection on the Agenda. And it's all about this balancing act that you've got as a mortgage advisor to make sure that you've got a process that allows you to signpost, to set up, and indeed to have the conversation about protection. When I talk about the risks associated with taking out a mortgage, what do I mean? I mean that risk statement, the risk statement that's on your mortgage illustration and on the mortgage offer. Now, we know that there are some different versions, but they're all basically saying the same thing. Your home is at risk if you do not keep up payments on your mortgage. We know that's written by the regulator for financial services, the FCA. Your home is at risk. What does that mean? It means you could lose your home. So how might you lose your home? You could potentially lose your home if you could no longer afford to pay for it. But how could that ever happen? But if you ask that direct question to your clients, do you think they'll be able to answer it? What could stop you from being able to pay your mortgage every month? I could lose my job. Well, how could you lose your job? I could be made redundant, could get the sack. Okay, yeah, but those are things in your control. So what things could happen unexpectedly that are out of your control? Well, I suppose I could get sick or I could have an accident. Yeah, and what's the worst thing that could happen? Well, I suppose I could die. Clients will be able to work those scenarios through, but very often they've not thought about it before because they've never been asked. But they will be able to answer that question, though. Your job's to facilitate those questions, to put them in an informed position. As you'll very often hear me say, simply give your clients the opportunity to tell you they don't want it. Simple. So that's not off the back of you mentioning protection. It's about talking to them so they can understand. And if you're interested in joining me for a couple of hours on one of our Putting Protection on the Agenda workshops, just give me a shout. We run these workshops online and we run them every single month. Now, in my position within the Right Mortgage and Protection Network, I look after the relationships with all of our protection providers. So I'm not supposed to have any favourites. And actually, the bottom line for me is that if a client gets some protection, that's a good outcome in my book. But I do appreciate quality and I do appreciate proper advice by advisors. So just for a moment, think about your spending habits. Would you agree with me that there are things that you buy that you might describe as quality? In other words, could you get a cheaper version, but you prefer the quality? It could be cars, holidays, restaurants, food, supermarkets, clothes, gadgets, etc., etc. Well, obviously, we're talking protection. And from a protection point of view, personally, I do appreciate quality and I do like Vitality and other providers who offer quality propositions. There are many out there. I think Vitality have innovated the protection market and they've forced other life companies to try and keep up. Take, for example, the simple concept of severity-based payments. In other words, an amount of cover that will be paid relative to how severe the condition is. It makes a lot of sense. And it was that type of thing which nudged the other life companies to come up with things such as partial payments and additional payments on critical illness cover plans, other ways to pay claims beyond that original set of ABI standard definitions. Now, Antoinette Ritzy, who is our national account manager over at Vitality, she presented at 3 of our November roadshows, and she asked the audience of advisors at each roadshow a question. Why do Vitality have an engagement program built into the fabric of what they do? The answer is to simply make people healthier and enhance and protect their lives. That's the Vitality mission statement. And really, if that happens, Vitality pay less claims, but that's a good outcome for them and for the customers. Nobody ever wants to make a claim on a protection policy because if you do, it means that something bad's happened. Well, there was a Vitality launch this week, and the big headline was this new approach to customer engagement. And what that is to help members live longer in good health. Sounds good, doesn't it? But what does it mean? Well, we all know that there are things that we can do to make us healthier and live longer. Some things, though, for some of us, are more important than others and would actually make a profound difference to us. So, as that headline says, live longer, but in good health. So what Vitality are doing is introducing something into the engagement program that will actually prompt clients to take what they're calling their next best action. Now, there's a lot of data science behind all of this, but the approach is actually really, really simple. The next best action will simply focus the customer on one action that would have the biggest impact on their future health. And the customer will have access to all the tools in order to meet this objective in a reasonable period of time. So an example could be to give up smoking. It could be to lose weight or various other things. And the incentives, they are worth going for. It could be, for example, to accelerate a customer to platinum status a lot more quickly by achieving this next best action goal. I'm sure I've not done this justice, so I'll get either Antoinette or one of the other members of the Vitality team to come onto a podcast and we're going to run through this properly. But I think this could be really groundbreaking. A protection plan that really does start to give you what you want. That is to live longer, but in good health. That's what we all want, isn't it? So we're going to get into a lot more of that detail in the coming weeks and months. And as I say, I'll see if I can get Vitality onto one of these podcasts to get you some of that detail. And finally, I just wanted to point out a new Protection Insight podcast this week that I recorded with Tony over at Royal London. For me, the rental market is probably one of the biggest missed protection opportunities. And the thing is, it's going to be a growing market over the next few years. So I sat down to have a chat with Tony to talk about a brand new toolkit that Royal London have produced, which will help you open the door with letting agents, landlords, and tenants. It's attached to this week's protection update, so take a look and see what you think. So that's it from me for another week. Have a great weekend, and I look to see you soon.